We are live. All right, welcome. My name's Mike Hughes. This is our second Instructor online event, which is live. You can ask questions, you can post, we can interact and do all that fun stuff. Want to keep this high and tight, about a half hour. Last time we talked about diagnostics a bit, which is a big topic, and actually it's one that we'll always talk about. But now I want to really go into a topic which we surveyed out that people want to know, and that's using a SIRT on the range. All right, so there's a lot to cover on there. I want to cover this in two parts. One, just right here in this setting, the best I can describe it. But I also thought, God, to really do this well, since we have Starlink now out in the sticks where I live, thanks to Elon Musk, I actually like to do it on the range and really show, get demonstrative and all that. So that will be forthcoming, hopefully, before winter sets in too deep here. But let's jump into this. So let's talk about on the range. Let's start with an overarching topic or concept with the SIRT on the range. And that is, treat the SIRT exactly like a live fire pistol. All right? Do what you do with a live fire pistol on the range and do the SIRT just use the SIRT with all the safety protocols, everything on the range, just like a live fire pistol. That means no force on force at all right? That means no dinking around with it. That means no improper handling or testing or anything like that. We always treat it like a live fire pistol, but I mean exactly as far as the muzzle awareness, finger placement, safe tables and what have you, okay? I'll go into some protocols. I'm switching live to dry here, but that's this overarching topic. Secondly, let's go to why. Why would you want to use a SIRT on the range, like your live fire? And I agree, we're not dry fire Nazis. We're all about shooting live fire, getting recoil management, slide lock, stimulus, and malfunction recognition, clearance, all that. You got to train those on the range, particularly recoil management. However, there's times when, quote, advanced drills are difficult to do, particularly if it's a new class. Maybe you've had the students before, but you don't really know. And let me just talk about what an advanced drill is. Let's just say, for example, I'll use this bob here, just kind of more as a barricade. But let's say it's a very, very, very simple but practical drill as far as you're just going to draw, use some form of cover, come around, compromise shooting position, and shoot, or, knee up, whatever, however you want to instruct it, is using him as cover. All right, that may be considered advanced, but it's a very necessary skill. I think we can all agree on, right? That everyone who conceals carry should be able to draw on the move, use some kind of concealment, cover, what have you. Also some compromised shooting positions and break off shots. So it's a high percentage probability skill to have. But yet, it could be a little bit dicey, couldn't it? I mean, are they going to muzzle themselves? Are they done? Are they going to muzzle everyone else? How does this look? So safety, and not only safety, but also expanding your drills more quickly, all right, is one big kind of component of a why to get it on the range. Now, a second aspect component is diagnosing problems, all right? So let's just say someone's just not tightening it up, it's just a shotgun pattern. Well, a bullet is a moment in time. Bullet hole, right? You can agree with that? Just like the muzzle happened to be there. How it got there, we don't totally know. We can guess sometimes low left, but we don't totally know it. A SIRT is a whole array of moments, all right? So let me just demo real quick. Let's just say you're doing some far targets, all right? And it's more of a sighted fire type drill, all right? Well, if you bring someone aside, all right, maybe the drill's still going on and you have a table set off to the side. That's one deal. All right, and let's just go on the bob real far here. You should just see nice, clean, dots, 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 dots. All right, that's probably what we should see. But what you could also may see is like dash. And again, just talking about the trigger, well, I gave it away. Talking about the diagnostics from last week, you start seeing dashes. All right, it's a trigger control issue. How do you fix trigger control? Diagnose and then response. Well, you can don't tell them to slow down. That's just a crutch. But you can say, well, your pad, the pad of your trigger, try to push high and outside. So in other words, you're not pushing straight back. You're pushing high and to the right, or left-handed shoot high and to the left. All right. Do an isolation drill, the strong hand only. Right. Then they could probably turn on the take-up indicator, make sure they're prepping the trigger and what have you. So those are a few things to fix them. The bigger point here, of course, is you're diagnosing, all right? Let's just give another drill here. Let's just say you want to see if they're prepping the trigger upon extension. So I can see here, I got a SIRT 115. All right, nice little baby here. Well, there's a question on that I will answer and address here. Are these available? All right, this is exciting because this emulates the functional features of a Glock 19. Okay, so anyways, I just popped out our little tool, and I'm going to use the tool to turn on the take-up indicator. I can also adjust the lasers. I can even adjust when the take-up indicator comes on, which is awesome. And then I can even adjust the trigger from the outside. All right, really exciting stuff. I can zoom in here a bit. All right, I can adjust the prep and brake and the battery. So we're just, I'm really excited about these units. All right, just had a big shipment to a large federal agency. So, all right, so anyways, I just turned on the take-up indicator. So on the range, let's say one of your drills is simply, start getting your finger on the trigger, like just right before full extension, all right? Okay, so how do you, gauge that with live fire and what have you? Say you're working the draw. I'll just play this through, say you're tuck in. Let's just say it's simple. Okay, we're gonna work on the draw. Tuck your shirt over so we're not worrying about clearing the garment at this phase, all right? And let's just go on this very close target right here, okay? Just bob, it's pretty close to me. Okay, so they draw, they come out. You can do steps, or you can just have them go fluidly, or just slowly for purpose of the drills. They present out, they prep, and they break, send it. All right, as soon as it's extended. If it's point shooting, like index shooting, like a close target like this, they probably just extend without confirmation of the sights. But the point is you're using the SIRT on the range before going live fire, all right, to work out the, make sure everyone's safe, make sure you don't have any knuckleheads who are, doing that bit, or fingers on the trigger and, all that kind of stuff. But it's actually diagnosing, it's actually getting deeper into what their mechanics are actually doing right before you go live fire, that nexus to live fire, okay? So you prep, come out, prep, excuse me, I screwed up my words there. I was in the zone, okay? So you get, you get good grip, hands kind of ready, up, finger off trigger, of course, right? Finger off trigger. And then you start extending, I prep, send it, okay? So anyhow, point being on this is it's a drill you can hit on the range and then just go live fire, all right? Then you go live fire. Let's talk about that component right now, okay? The transfer of going dry fire to live fire, all right? One way to do that if you're, say, a solo instructor, solo with an assistant, is you just control each group one at a time, and you have a table set up, all right? And here's this protocol that works pretty well, all right? You have your students, let's say you've gone live fire, all right? You're on the line, and you just want to swap out with SIRTs because you just did some basic drills. Now you're going to do some movement or something. Like, I don't really want to see this class doing this. Let's do a SIRTs first, all right? Make sure we're all squared away, okay? So here's what you do. You have a line. You have everyone, okay, unload and show clear like they normally would, say at the end of the day. Okay, slide lock, check chamber, buddy check chamber, physical check chamber, we're good. Here's a trick though. Holster live fire, okay? Holster live fire. Go to your transfer table, which is a table you have set up. You can print these out. We can supply something like this, if you can see close here. This is just a simple little sheet having a SIRT, and a slide lock pistol, all right? A SIRT and I gotta look at this. A SIRT and a slide lock pistol. They walk over to the transfer table, just pull out their pistol, set it down, right, like the picture shows, and then the SIRTs, as you arrange class, are already sitting there. They take a SIRT, they holster up, they go back to the line, all right? Anyone have questions on that, Luke? Good, all right. So that is like a basic protocol to exchange from live to dry. All right, as a group, like say they have a smaller class of like 5. All right, kind of a good manageable 1-to-5 ratio of an instructor and such. You want to get a lot of reps in. Sometimes you just don't have the ammo and it's cheap. And you just want to do a lot of reps, and then you want to confirm with live fire. That nexus is great. As a quick side note, I'll give a shout out to Rob Pincus, came up and he did a class. I don't want to prematurely give too much right now, but a really, really neat class of using the SIRT and then swapping out live fire to all the difficult manipulations and then just bring the nexus of live fire. But I don't want to steal Rob's thunder on that, because it was actually really worked out really well. So let's talk about this further in a larger institutional setting as an example. All right, as an example, I'm going to show you some photos here, and this is a large metropolitan outfit in Nebraska. Okay, and what you're seeing right now is a transfer table, just like I mentioned. Okay, now they do this a little bit differently, so you're going to have to follow along with me here. All right, so you have that transfer table, and as you can see up close, there's some SIRTs there, and then there's one live fire gun. All right. Now I will note, as you may note on here, it says lanes 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do lanes if it's that structure, and that's kind of where I got this, the demo sheet I just showed you. But otherwise, it just means like whose pistol is it? Like who has a live fire gun? You can imagine in a big department, like, I don't know, is that my Glock, your Glock, whatever. So you can also do what I've done is on a table like this, as you see, is tether a writing implement, pen, and they get up there, they just write their name on it in the corner, okay? And if someone else's name, and it was, just cross it out, put your name, so you know where your pistol is. But anyways, you just got to know where your gun is basically it. Also, this one note while I'm looking at this photo: if it's windy, I've been outside, I've been back east doing a course like this. It's good to have a little tape, a little painter's tape to tape stuff down so it doesn't blow away, which you might have something like that anyways. So what's interesting here is you can see there is 2 stations. There is a dry fire station right in front of us and a live fire right behind. All right, so this is actually quite interesting. So let me just talk about the protocol again on this. So this is the protocol, and again, I'm not saying you should run out and do this right now. I'm just planting some seeds so you can kind of get a vision of how in a large institutional setting, like using a SIRT on the range, can be implemented very effectively. All right. So the officers on the line, all right, or the people, your students, whatever, all right, and you have a second group over there doing, say, SIRT drills. So the officers in the line, they're going to swap out, they're going to change over, take their pistols, unload, show, clear, slide lock, right, check, buddy check, everything, tactile check, good. Holster, this is the weird part, holster slide locked, all right? It's not a training scar, okay, because they do it once, okay, so let's not get stupid. Okay, but a holster slide lock for this protocol. They walk over to the safety table. All right, on the safety table, you'll see these. All right, now if they were in lane 17, they come up, see lane 17. That you could use whatever whatever designation system you want. But if it's a smaller class, it's not that big a deal. They see this, put the slide locked gun down, okay, and then they grab the SIRT, holster the SIRT, go to the dry fire area. All right. Now, if you look at that photo, the dry fire area of the training area, all right, is against a ballistic wall out of abundance of caution. It's not meant to take rounds, but it can take rounds, all right, side of a range. They're doing this particular drills there. You can be aggressive on your drills. You have an assistant instructor at the dry fire area. The number 1 job description for that assistant instructor is to make sure there's no live fire tools there. That's their number 1 job. So if you are running a large training institution, you have, like, say, larger classes, and you want to, let's say that you want to, maybe you want to do a dedicated drill, like you really watch like 5 people at a time or 1 people at a time, and you want other people meaningfully occupied while you're going live fire. All right, maybe it's a little, maybe the drill is one-on-one and it just occupies the whole range because they're moving fore and aft, and you can't do that with lines. Okay, there's a lot of reasons, right, of why you'd want your other students meaningfully occupied, and you have an assistant instructor. The job of that assistant instructor, prime res, make sure there's no live fire tools. Now they treat it like a live fire gun, so if a round did cook off and there was a breakdown, no one's going to get shot. You don't do force on force over there, right? They don't point at each other. All right, they shoot a ballistic target, like a ballistic wall, okay? So if you have one range, it might be another part of the range into a bay. But here, I'll tell you a quick story. And let me give credit where credit's due. This is Officer Dave Staskowitz, who has these protocol. All right, he really came up with it. He's a brilliant guy out of Nebraska. Anyhow, they had a block of instruction of just index shooting, right? So, I'm concealed here, but they were doing so much SIRT work like on over on the safety area, all right, so much SIRT work. When it came to the live fire, when it was point shooting, index shooting, they nailed it. He said a 4-hour block, I think he said took like 1 hour, right? And I mean, it was diminishing returns thereafter, right? So you kind of see what's going on here, right? Yeah, that practice has pretty direct carryover. So it's kind of funny. He says you have to pull out a lifeboat. Like, okay, what do we do now? Let's fill this. So the point is, like, you don't. A few points there, but you don't just save ammo. I don't believe in saving ammo. I believe in using ammo more effectively. So I mean, granted, like maybe you will save ammo, but I mean, we're not saying like, hey, don't use 200 rounds, just use 50 rounds. Well, maybe use your 200 rounds, but use it more effectively. So when you're SIRT training, with all your mechanics, everything ironed out, you go live fire, you bring in recoil management. And I would also suggest bringing in slide lock stimulus, going slide lock, boom, and also suggest putting in brass into your magazines and inducing malfunctions. And those are the big three: recoil management, returning the muzzle down, consistent location, slide lock stimulus. I got a paperweight in my hand. I better hit a reload. You can only do that, only train that live fire. You can only train that live fire. And of course, malfunction recognition clearance. So you can have all the best of both worlds: high volume training, diagnose shooters, get a lot of reps in, and then also have that nexus of live fire. So that's just a little bit on that with regarding use on the range. All right, so let's go ahead. Feel any questions out there? But let me take a little intermission here because we had a few questions that popped up. One was from David. Would you recommend a sticky holster for students due to low cost and multiple uses, or something else? That's a great question. Excuse me, a lot of times with equipment, holsters, I have like a drawer full of holsters, right? And I just go all around. I love sticky holsters, just for what David said right here. Because, and it says a disclaimer, I know Big Mike for Sticky Holster. He's a great guy, good dude, okay? But yes, they're inexpensive. You can, if you don't know what I'm talking about, but it's essentially like I got a pocket pistol. It fits in a sleeve, it meets threshold, it covers the trigger guard. I can take that sticky holster and just tuck it in, all right? So it's great with people with different garments in your class. They don't have a holster, but they get used to, of course, covering the trigger guard, drawing, and what have you. Sometimes the sticky holster just come out with the gun. When I do that, I feel it, right? So then I just, pull it off. But yeah, it's a good product. I really like that. I got quite a few, actually. Quite a few. I give them a lot away, but I gotta call Mike and get some more, maybe. Okay, Pat H. All right, it's name of my mom. How would you recommend amping up pressure for students when training with the SIRT? I think, in fact, you know what? I'm going to combine this with the next question from Marcus C. What is the best way to train with SIRT for a competition shooter? I want to give some advice I learned from a really good coach, actually. His name was Matt Burkett, a performance training coach. He says, go fast. Put the time pressure on. And video yourself while you're doing that. I mean, I think any kind of external pressure like that is excellent because our mechanics are not solidified until we do them at speed. I just totally believe that. All right, because we can go, everyone says, well, let's go slow. And a lot of times we just use speed as a crutch, quite frankly. Going slow as a crutch, it just covers up bad mechanics. But when you're forced just to push it, no matter what it is, right? So just like, come on, bum, 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 bum. All right, my trigger pull wasn't very good on that. I was kind of bobbing around on that. That pressure got to me, way too much trigger movement here off camera. I'll just do it one more time, like looking off camera. I'm gonna shoot the far target. I'll just go for, bop, 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 bop. All right, that one actually a little bit better. I was a little bit more calibrated, a little bit more warmed up, what have you. But I just am such a believer that you have to pressure this. And then you go back and you go slow, right? You kind of go slow as in like just very deliberate, like just no wasted movement. Only recruit the muscles necessary to accomplish the desired task, all right? I'll repeat that. Only recruit the muscles necessary to accomplish the desired task. No unnecessary tension, no unnecessary movement, no shrugging, no goofiness, right? So those are, I think those are a few things. All right, so let's see how much time we got here. Not much, 10 times, okay. So focused versus general drills. There's a second block. We put some things out there, feelers out as to some topics. And let's talk about focused drills versus general drills. And this is gonna be actually pretty short, all right? So I think what we're really talking about here is isolation drills versus more, say, comprehensive overall, incumbent drills. So let's just go extreme for one example here, okay? Let's just say we do an isolation drill, and I'll just use this close target right here, okay? So I'm just gonna do an isolation drill. I'm gonna go support hand, all right? This is gonna be isolation drill, support hand. And then I'm gonna go right here, I'm gonna prep, and I'm gonna try to get nice, clean dots, all right, on this target, okay? Nice, clean dots. So this is an isolation drill, I call it, because I'm using my support hand to get my strong hand better. I am just going one hand primarily, although it's good to be able to, obviously it's good to be able to do everything we can, you know, like draw we can and do that. But I'm really doing it just to isolate that trigger. Because if I have a good grip, my trigger control is not isolated. If I go single hand, all right, my trigger control is more on an island. It's more wobbly, so to speak. So if I have any trigger control deficiencies, it's going to illuminate. Give you another kind of example of an isolation drill versus a kind of an overall one. You might have an isolation drill. So, okay, and this is one you can do yourself. You just look in the mirror, or you have some point of reference or what have you. You just try to move, absolutely move as minimal as possible, all right, when you engage in a draw, all right? So, and I don't mean like shorten your lift of your garment. You know, we can do that like same height and stuff. But you just try to like not move your head. You try to be totally, just the same principle. Recruit only the muscles necessary, accomplish desired task, all right? Actually, these shots are surprisingly good. But anyways, so is that like, that is a drill, all right? That is an isolation drill. When it really gets into, say, the other extreme, when you do full scenarios or a full force on force, you know, type training, right? Then that's everything kind of brought together with your situational awareness, with clearing the garment. If you're, you know, in armed security or professionally armed, you know, with law enforcement or any of those lanes. And of course, there's other things. There's interviews. You know, there's interview stance. There's all these things that kind of wrap around that. So, you know, one of the lessons here is don't be afraid to do a very isolated drill, explain it. Problem is, you know, as someone videos it, and go, what a stupid drill, what a stupid thing to say. Like, well, it's a drill, all right? It's a drill. My friend Gary Drake says, look, we do a lot of specific drills, all right? Triangle steps, you know, angles of survivability, things like that, you know, intended to be ultimately comprehensive and larger. But just doing larger ones without isolation doesn't really work. So, you know, anyhow, that's more of a conceptual thing. So with that, I think I got the stones in the jar. I do want to cover a lot more on the protocols, on using the range and live and what have you, but I'm going to reserve that actually when we can be on the range. I think that'll be pretty cool. It might be 2 or 3 of these out as we kind of get it figured out. So with that, we're good, Britt? All right, okay, we're good. Thank you all for watching this. Hope you got some value out of this. Please comment or get with Luke, get with us on things you want to cover, and we will continue this train of trying to get the best train-the-trainer content possible so you as an instructor can be just rocking it out there. Mike Hughes, thank you. Cheers.